We're here to tell us a little bit about a faith perspective on this issue is Jack Porter. Jack is a former Presbyterian minister and retired attorney for Prairie State Legal Services. He's a longtime member of Illinois People's Action, where he currently serves as a board member of the directors. Jack?
Good morning. I went on the internet to see what connection there was between faith communities and fracking, and there is just a ton of websites, all kinds of links to various statements. I'm just going to give you a little sample of some of what I found from a faith perspective about fracking. So I'll start with Brother David Andrews, the former director of the National Catholic Rural Life Conference, who says that most religious groups recognize moral principles such as the dignity of the human person, the care for creation, and an appreciation of the welfare of animals. On all these concerns, fracking comes up short. It harms communities and harms creation. We don't know what the long-term effects will be, but we know enough to challenge that it benefits anyone except the corporations that make huge profits off of the energy production and does little for the health of people, animals, and nature. My own background is Presbyterian. There is a group Presbyterians for Earth Care, which says that the policy stance of that group is to place a moratorium on further fracking operations until the overall social and economic costs can be known and paid for by the industry. Sufficient regulation can be deployed and home rule, that is local government, participation guaranteed. PEC believes the burden of proof of the harmlessness to public health, the environment, and local communities and municipalities should fall upon the industry. Dr. Muriel Goldsmith, speaking for Jews Against Hydrofracking, has said that as Jews we're sensitive to the ethical implications of hydrofracking. We value life above all else and place limits on what we're allowed to do for profit. We're obligated to protect the poor and vulnerable who suffer first from unregulated exploitation of natural resources. We recognize our responsibility to safeguard the earth for our children and grandchildren. The expansion of hydrofracking can't be aligned with these values. Reverend Jen Deming, Minister for Environmental Justice of the Ohio-based United Church of Christ Justice and Witness Ministries, says that we now know the results of fracking with unknown chemicals have included earthquakes in Ohio, contaminated drinking water in Pennsylvania, and spoiled farmland and rivers wherever wastewater is dumped. The administration must take concrete, meaningful steps to safeguard the health of our citizens and protect the natural resources of our communities from this unregulated industry. The Reverend Calvin Dame, religious director of the Ethical Humanist Society of Long Island, explicitly references the religious perspective of Muslims and Buddhists, as well as Jews and Christians, in saying that in every religious tradition, when thinking about the natural world, you come across a theology of stewardship, to care for the earth and use it responsibly. It's impossible to reconcile the known and as yet unknown dangers of fracking with our responsibility for the care of the earth. Reverend Mitch Hescock of the Evangelical Environmental Network is particularly concerned about the effects on air quality and is advocating that their members contact the federal EPA to insist on enforcement of the clean air standards. The ECHO programs unit of the National Council is churches, is particularly worried about effects on groundwater. Finally, from the Diocese of Southern Ohio, the annual convention, a resolution was passed stating that economic development strategies which depend on resource extraction are not sustainable and should be discouraged. Economic development decisions should be made in a transparent process that includes public hearings. Elected officials must be held responsible for the needs and concerns of their constituents. We're calling upon the elected officials of the state of Ohio to put on hold additional issuance of fracturing permits until the concerns of scientists and Ohioans are addressed. Again, this is just a small sample of what's out there in terms of the perspectives of various religious traditions in our country. Thank you.